empowering you to live a life fully charged. This is 7,000 Volts, Living an Electrified Life with L.J. Tucker.
Welcome back to another episode of 7,000 Volts, Living in an Electrified Life. In an electrified life we are living. I have my brother Chuck back with me today. Today's going to be a little different. We're not going to talk about success. We're going to talk about the foundation of what success is. Okay. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. It's always an honor to be back. Thank you.
Yes, man. You know, I get good feedback when you're on the show with the information that you share. It inspires the right person at the right time.
Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's, you know, sometimes people focus on their success or look at me. You know, we have a beautiful family, and there's nothing to be bashful about. But sometimes people don't know what it takes to take that next step, to have a successful business, successful job, live in a nice house, the kids where you're able to be involved as a parent, because they don't understand the foundational part of it. So today we want to talk about what helps you stay grounded and what's the base of your foundation.
Okay, thank you so much. That's actually a very important topic because everything in life is all about the foundation.
Okay.
So once the foundation is rock solid, then definitely you're going to have a good outcome. So when you talk about businesses and successes, nothing happens overnight. So it's all something that is intentionally built. And if you're building a success which will trickle down to the generation now and next, you have to think about the foundation. Mm-hmm. So the foundation has to be rock solid, and everything you build on rock solid foundation will definitely stand the test of time. Even as Christians, we all know that when you build something on solid rock, it's a solid foundation. But when you build something on shallow foundation, it's a sinking sand. So over time, I've known that there are some factors, there are some raw materials you need to build something that will outlast you. And core of it is the faith. You have to have very strong faith, like the mustard seed. If your faith is rock solid, and just like God doesn't just build businesses first, God builds men, and men with faith. So if you have that understanding that for you to have a good rock foundation, you have to have faith. Your faith has to be deeply rooted in God. Then that faith will translate to the kind of leadership you're bringing into that concept. And of course, if that leadership is rock solid, then over time it's going to be successful. And if you become successful, it's going to trickle down to the legacy. It's because everything is all about continuation, not just about what we achieve right now. It's what happens when you're no longer who you used to be, and what happens to the responsibility that God gave you, like your family, your kids, and the business you built for yourself. So that's pretty much what I've learned over time regarding success. So it's a very good topic to talk about.
I can relate because building a legacy, a family, you know, sometimes people success and they don't see the struggle. You know, dealing with my early struggles of getting in trouble, getting incarcerated, just putting myself in an unwanted position not to be successful. But the truth of the matter is I put in just as much work or even more work when I was unsuccessful. And it's almost a parable, like, because people are like, well, I put in work here, you put in the wrong work doing the wrong thing, and so I reap those results. So you're going to get what you put in. And you know, I like the results that I have now. I'm not looking over my shoulder when I'm driving. I'm not caught up in a situation where it's affecting my health, affecting my day-to-day decisions on, you know, a solid rock is so much better than an unstable rock because
Correct.
You have no control over your future.
Correct.
So when you put amount of time in, and sometimes when people see the success, they're like, oh man, everything's perfect. No, that's not, and that's just the farthest from the truth because it's not perfect. That means you get up and you get hit reset and do it again. And so I always ask this question when I speak in high schools, colleges, prisons, and I said, by a show of hands, how many people brush your teeth in the morning times on a consistent basis? That's up. Don't raise your hand because some people actually don't. And you know, something that's so simple for us and the average person that get up and brush your teeth, that it becomes easy.
Correct.
Because we know what happens when we don't do something simple as brushing your teeth.
Correct. Correct.
You get
correct.
bad breath. People
Correct.
don't want to be around you.
Correct.
You know, some people even get that breath that stands up and wave at you, and you're like, oh, whoa, you want to tic tac. But the reality is, brushing teeth becomes so simple because you learned as a child.
True.
Even if you don't do it, you may part ways, but it's so basic. It's so simple. When you see people with pretty smiles and stuff, you're like, man, I want to smile like that. Like, simple. Brush your teeth. I remember, off topic a little bit, but since I'm talking about brushing teeth, this is probably maybe 10 or 15 years ago. I went in for a routine dental cleaning, teeth cleaning. And he's like, oh, you're not flossing well enough. And by the time I had a dentist that he's no longer my dentist, I mean, I ain't like the way he handled me when he had his hands in my mouth. He goes, you got to come back for a deep cleaning. I'm like, no problem. But he was in there, feel like he was trying to break my jaw. He was like, yeah, if you don't do it, you're gonna lose teeth. And I'm like, man, what is this pressure?
Yeah,
but
I can relate.
It also taught me something.
Correct.
I haven't had to have a deep clean anymore.
Correct.
Because I brush and I floss and I do the basics.
True.
And that's what life is. So once we learn and become a professional
True.
at doing the basics on a consistent basis, it yields a positive and different result for our life.
True. Good analogy. I mean, life is all about doing the simple things that over time will become habitual. Mm-hmm. And when those habits are part of you, you're going to yield what you put in the ground. Just like sowing seeds, when you put the right seeds on the right environment, by the time the seed germinates and you reap the fruits, you're definitely going to reap what you put in.
Yes.
So life is all about adopting those minor steps, minor habits, which over time will become a second part of you. Like if you adopted the habit of brushing your mouth early in the morning before leaving, it's over time going to become part of you. Even if at that early stage, like our kids, they might forget, but over time they will adopt it. And any day they forget, that consequences will be on them. How they feel, how people address them, how they probably might have some stigma, they will go back and they will adopt doing the right thing. So it still goes back to how I started. Faith with works, with foundation, leading to proper leadership. And that's also where leadership comes in, because there are different types of leadership style. So if your leadership is not deeply rooted in faith, then it's a shallow leadership. It can easily give way. You might have a temporal success, but that continuity is not there. Mm-hmm. But if you want a rock solid leadership that will yield success, and success is not, final, and failure is not fatal, because you can succeed today. If you don't put in the work to sustain that success, it can go up the flames tomorrow. Then you can fail today, but when you go back and you go through what you've done previously that led to that particular temporal failure, then subsequently you're going to make it. Matter of fact, people do better and learn better when they fail than when they succeed, because sometimes if you succeed in everything you put your hands on, it will be so easy. But when you fail in something and you understood why you failed, when you're coming back re-energized, you're coming back with the mantra of 7,000 voltage that nobody can stop you.
Yes.
So we learn more from failure than from success, especially if you're thinking about inculcating what we've learned in the legacy we are building. We want to build a legacy that will stand the test of time, especially in our contemporary society. Everything keeps changing. So if you don't have that ability to adapt, ability to switch and change with the changing trends, then you're going to struggle. So that's how I go by in everything I put my hands on, in my undertakings. And it's not all the time you win. Sometimes when you don't win, you go back to the drawing board. And what people always see is the finished product. Everybody wants to see a successful you. Everybody wants to see an accomplished you. But before that outward manifestation, there are so many things that happen behind the scenes. So many things you put on the table. Like you mentioned about not looking over your shoulders, having good sleep, having good relationship with yourself. Because when we talk about leadership, you have to take care of you first. So it's more like you're a gardener. If you don't have water, you can't garden. But sometimes the gardener forgets to tend to him or herself before going to other. You have to take care of you before you go to the other. So it also applies to businesses. It applies to success. If you don't have what it takes, you can't give it to people. So you have to feed yourself, have a rock solid foundation. It still goes back to that rock solid foundation. And I'm going to borrow an analogy from the Bible. There's this, man that built, his house
Yes.
on rock solid foundation. And there is another guy that built his house on shallow foundation. And when the challenges, the storms, the whatever things that can happen in life came, what happened? The guy that built his structure on rock solid ground, the rain and everything came, but he stood firm. But the other guy, it was a matter of time. So that's life. Once you have that solid foundation, deeply rooted in faith, because what's faith? Faith is the evidence of things you haven't seen,
Yes.
things you haven't really experienced, but you have the spiritual eyes to know that it's yours, it's already there. And the Bible made it very, very simple that if you don't have faith, you can't please God. You can accomplish nothing.
Yes.
So that faith is the basic foundation that will spur you to the next level. And once you have that rock solid faith, you're going to be unstoppable in anything you do.
There's a saying that when the storm comes and the wind comes, it exposes all your weaknesses.
True.
And this is how, as a society, we get better, especially in the state of Florida.
True.
With the hurricane,
correct.
and enforced windows indoors. I think I heard this from Dr. Wayne Dyer. He said, if I squeeze this orange, what do I expect to come out of it?
Juice.
Orange juice.
Correct.
I can't expect
Water.
I can't expect anything else but orange juice. It's like we as a people, once we get squeezed,
Correct.
the only thing that comes out is what's inside.
True. I agree.
So if we have bitterness and anger and resentment that we haven't let go over time, or we're constantly putting in negative stuff or stuff that's not helping us grow as a person, under pressure, that's what we get.
That's
out.
what you're going to get. It's true.
One time in business, I got a stop work permit, and it's because I didn't know. I wasn't educated enough, and I was so embarrassed. I was lower than a snake's belly that I signed it, took a job from a person, and the city had to come in and put a stop work permit because I didn't have the proper paperwork and permits to do it.
Oh.
And that never happened again. So it's funny. It's just this week I got a call from a colleague that's in the same industry because I'm a certified arborist now. He said, man, I need your help. I'm like, help with what? He said, the city just came and put a stop work permit. I said, well, why did he do that? He goes, I said, you didn't have a permit. I won't say his name because I don't want to embarrass him. I said, man, you know better. I said, you're twice as older than me,
Sure.
and you know to know. And then, so I made time in my schedule to go look at it. I said, if you knew your craft and knew what you were doing, you hear this is an invasive tree, you don't even need a permit. And the guy was just so zealous that stopped you, he didn't even realize it was an invasive tree either. See what just happened?
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, see what just happened?
Correct.
And I paid my money for wasting my time. Look,
Correct.
and just do your math. Don't go to cut the tree down if you know you don't have a permit. That's just like
Knowing the foundation. It's pretty. Everything starts with the foundation. Once the
Yes.
foundation is forwarded, you might be winning temporarily, but
Yes.
eventually you're gonna pay the consequences.
it catches up with you.
When you want to cut corners because you want the spur of the moment, you want to do things your way without doing things the right way, and everything boils down to foundation. When the foundation is faulty, like the guy you're talking about, if he did his due diligence and he was hooked to the right foundation, he's not going to be put to such an embarrassing situation. Now, the reason why he touched base with you was because you've been there, you've done that, you've seen that, and you're more like a reference point now.
Yes.
Now, when you talked about, I also love that analogy about squeezing and what comes out when you squeeze. We all have to understand that life is a journey. Life is not a dash.
Yes.
So things that happen to us in the past and currently, somehow we are humans. Sometimes it will creep up and all that. But being in charge of you, looking yourself up in the mirror and deciding that against all odds, especially if you're someone of faith, because at the end of the day, the Holy Book says, apart from me, you can do nothing. And impossible is nothing. So while you're going through whatever you're going through, trying to building, it's not easy. In anything, business, family, whatever, success, that's the hardest part of building. But once you've had the tenets, the foundations, you build on it gradually, it's gonna be what you're looking for. But it's not just about building, it's about maintenance, it's about sustenance. So what happens, like we're in Florida now, if you're in a flood zone and it's hurricane season and you didn't fortify your home, what's gonna happen? Your home is gonna be blown away. But when you experience hurricane previously and you knew better to put your shutters, or when they told you to evacuate and you evacuated, you're not gonna be in the situation you were previously. So the problem most times is we just want it right now, quick fix, get things now, and that's what makes people to look for shortcuts.
Yes.
So the guy that didn't get his permit probably felt, well, I can do this. It's possible he knew the right things to do, but he felt, well, I can go through this. And when he now met that opposition, he remembered to reference you, who, from your basic experience, you knew that this is the reason why that particular thing happened. So everything you give in life, you're gonna get.
Yes.
That's what happens. It's a law of nature.
I'm not sure who I heard this from. I think it was Tom Brady. And he said something to this effect. He said, when you do something and you practice over and over again, it's almost like cheating on the tests, because you know all the answers.
Correct.
When it comes.
Cheat sheet, yeah.
Yeah, it's and that's what life can be. It can be a cheat sheet if you really just build a foundation.
Correct.
It's not like, even in business now, it's not about the money. It's not about or what can we push the numbers to. I'm sure I can have a lot more financially if I was to take that route, but that's not my route.
True.
My route is very different. It's building a legacy, being present for my family, my kids. And when I take inventory at the beginning, the end of the year, during the middle of the year, how can I be a better father? These are the questions that I ask myself. I don't waste time inside of the noise of like, how can I make more money? No.
True.
I may look at the numbers and be like, hey, where are we losing money at? Where can we shore up? Hey, is there anything that we can buy wholesale to cut costs here without cutting the integrity of what we do? And so when you read statements from other wise people and it says, it's like cheating on the test when you study, because you know all the answers. Like, man, this, and sometimes I have to ask myself and say, is it really that easy? Did I do something wrong? Because it comes so swiftly.
Yeah, because you show up and, you know, what you do repeatedly over time will become part of you. Like, it will be your second nature.
Yeah.
And I think I heard there's a Washington saying, when you fall the seventh, get up.
You got to keep getting up.
You keep getting up. You keep
Yes.
getting up. And this good guy, who it's one of my favorites, Les Brown, you know, he said, well, if you're going to fall, you're going to fall at something. But when you're falling, make sure you land on your back, because when you land on your back and you can look up, you can always get up.
Yes.
And when you've gone through situations that make you better, when you review your journey, you will discover that over time, you're going to learn from everything that happened to you. And you have to understand that everything that happened to you, the journey, the chronicles, the trajectory, is happening for your favor, because nothing happens in vain. Everything that happened. There are so many people, when we were growing up, we felt like, oh, why am I left behind? Why are they ahead of me? Guess what? Life is a marathon. There are so many people that started, that took off. Now they're looking for breath, that, you know, trying to catch up. But based on the fact we had the right foundation, we are still in the race. There are some people that are no longer in the race, not because they didn't want to be in the race, but they didn't really have that foundation. And they just had that spur of a moment. Because that's actually what the world is going through. Everybody just wants to cut corners. You read the news, you listen to social media. It's all about things that people did in the past that they never knew would come into the limelight. So nothing hidden under the sun will be there forever. Everything ends. So, and I'm talking to people especially that might have certain things that didn't go their way. You know, as we talk, especially at this particular start of the season, I mean, January, February is always the tough part of the year, because there are so many projections, so many New Year resolutions. Some people might not be in a good place. Some people might have lost their jobs. Some people might have been in a bad place. They might have had a bad start. And they'll be thinking, How will I get there when I have this on my responsibility? But in every storm, there is always a blessing. But if you don't hold on to that blessing, if you don't stay firm in the storm, and what will keep you in the storm? Your faith.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about who you're standing on.
Yes.
In your life, in your family, in your role as a dad, a mom, or whatever, a boss. It's that foundation. Just like for your business now, when you're not there and when your staff want to talk about you, who do they really think Lee J is when you're not there, when you're not watching them? That's what makes the difference. That's what legacy is all about. That's what leadership is all about, because it doesn't happen overnight. And life is not about how far, but how well.
Yes.
Because most people look at, the time limit, the duration. But some people can gas out if they think that life is a dash. So when the last lap of the race kicks in, they've already expended the energy they would have conserved to still be in the game. That's life. So it's just a phase. Anything that happens, you learn from it, you move on, you stay strong, because if you can talk to yourself, nobody can break you, because whether you like it or not, there will always be a mountain.
Yes.
The question is not whether you're going to have a mountain. Mountains will always be there. The difference is the climb. How do you climb the mountains? When the mountains show up. Because there will always, always be a mountain.
I wonder if they still teach that in school. You remember the tortoise and the hare
Correct.
story? And at the time, it didn't make sense because, in elementary school, you always want to be the fastest in everything that you do.
Correct.
But if you remember the story of the tortoise and the hare,
Correct.
and that's what life is.
Yep.
You're the tortoise and the hare is going to take off.
Correct. I mean, the assumption, just like life, there are so many assumptions, like the tortoise and the hare situation. Definitely, the other one, it's fast moving car, right? And the tortoise is probably slow. But guess what? What happened at the end of the day?
Yep.
The tortoise won the race.
Yes.
So that's life. You have to have something to fall back on when you want to gas out. If you don't have those stuff that will sustain you, then you're going to gas out. And when you gas out, you're out of the game. And if you don't tell your story, you're going to be a statistic.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier about kids or people like, well, how did this person get this and that? I kind of mentioned that in my book. My youngest son, David, asked me a question. He said, Dad, why can't life be fair? Which at the time, I think he was 5 or 6, and it threw me for a loop. I'm like, what do you mean why life can't be fair? And then so I explained it to him to the best of my knowledge in the book. I wrote it in the book how I explained it to him. Like people have different starts, so it's not about fairness or not. It's
True.
You have to take what you have and make the best of it.
True.
And because some people is going to start out with a better financial advantage, they're going to have parents that are more in tune and more wiser, so they're going to teach their kids like me and you teach our kids, so they're starting off better.
True.
And then somebody that don't have the same fortune as they have. But what they do with it is up to them.
True.
And it doesn't matter where you start.
True.
Because, we all come in this earth the same way.
Correct.
And
it's what you deposit in the kid, especially at that formative stage. It's what you pour in there. And when they ask you those questions, when they interact with you on that level, it means you're actually a very good parent, because most kids lately don't even have that time to even notice. They get so frustrated, they want it in the now. So for him to have asked that question also got you, kind of thinking, if this dude at his age can ask that question, wow. And it's possible that growing up, we didn't have that opportunity to ask our parents that question, because we grew up in a different time, different scenario, different family dynamics. So
yes.
If our kids, we can relatively say they have it better.
Yes.
Like,
absolutely.
There are so many things we didn't have, they have now. You can say some of them, we can say, oh, you don't even lack anything. But that's not the right words, because this is now. This is not then. So what most parents do is to start comparing. We have to stop that, because we can't compare when we grew up. We can't compare our childhood with their own childhood. They are dealing with different kinds of dynamics now. But when we give them the same word, when we give them the same foundation, when we give them the same basics, That's what's going to sustain them in the future. Because everybody starts the race at the same time. But people might have an advantage. Some people, their parents might give them a head start. Some people might have just that core raw material. Then what they do with the raw material is actually what makes a difference.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's funny because they're between David and Michael and Olivia. They always hit me, but David seems to get the most deep as we're coming from his baseball practice. He goes, and it's just this week. Dad, what's at the bottom of the earth? See, I'm looking at him like, what you mean? I said, it's dirt and water. He said, no, what's below that? I said, son, nothing. This atmosphere is just floating in the air like this bottle. And I put this bottle and show him.
Yeah.
He go, I just was wondering. I said, well, you mighty deep thoughts, son. Look. But it's always a pleasure because I get a chance to give him something I didn't have growing up. Because, many people know either from the podcast, my book. I didn't grow up with my father. My father came to work with me for a decade as an adult. But that's something I longed, is having that foundational. I can remember as a kid when I did play sports, just looking around at the other kids and their dad, good job, son, good job. And not having that experience, man, I don't, it built something in me. And it's like, hey, listen, if I father kids, God, you bless me, I'm going to be there every step of the way.
True.
Within my power.
True.
Because it's important. True. It's very important. Some people those situations scars people. Foundationally scar them. And they look for that guidance through substance abuse their entire life, and they never can recover.
True.
And so I'm grateful that God has given me that foundation to not only to understand, but to live it out, what I didn't have to what I have, and to build that foundation on those principles.
Correct. I mean, the biggest blessing in life is the ability to be a parent. Yes. That's the biggest wealth, the most sustainable wealth you can ever have, is to have someone that will call you a dad, someone that will call you a mom. Yes. You know why? There are so many people that can do anything to just have a child.
Yes.
And all the children are God's children. We are just custodians. So when God gives you a kid, God is giving you a kid for a while to look after that kid and return it back to him, a better kid. So if we have that responsibility growing up and we didn't stay back in our past trying to figure out, why didn't my parent do this or that? Every good parent wants the best for the kids. But what they might have then might not be what they have now. So that's where we need to be careful, because the gap is really widening with this era of social media. If you don't fill that gap, something else is going to occupy that time you're not spending with our kids, the interaction you're not having with them. You're not showing up. Some parents are all over the place trying to make the ends meet. I understand that, because you have to still pay bills and do that. But that little time we have, all those games, I mean, you see how we frequent our kiddies, extracurricular activities, games, days after school. You notice that once you're a parent, it's all about them. It's no longer about us. But that's what makes a difference, because you blink. They're all adults. If you don't have that memory cells to do what you need to do, and kids have the best retentive memories. They remember everything that happened growing up. So if they flash back and you're not in the big picture, when you blink, they are gone. And there are some parents that are just so lonely and so alone, not because they don't have kids, but those kids have moved on. They're now living independently. And once you don't have that social capital to have, what used to make you happy, your health might be at stake, especially your mental health. So generally, when you understand the tenets in life, when you understand the basic fundamentals, the foundations, and you apply them, it might not yield that result you're looking for instantly. But life is garbage in, garbage out. It's what you put in, you're going to reap.
Yes.
It's what you have, you're going to give. And if you don't put in stuff, you're going to tap dry. So that's what life is all about. And you can liken it to anything you do, business, projects, anything whatsoever. Life obeys that same principle. Once the foundation is rock solid, you can't go wrong.
I appreciate I'm grateful for you being on the show with your wisdom and your knowledge. The listeners, they're grateful for the knowledge that you give them. And so, what's your final word that you have to say?
Okay, it's always a pleasure coming back to share my experience. Everything I discuss in this channel is actually things we can relate with. And I know we have a lot of good people out there. And I'm talking to that person right now that might be thinking, will I ever get there? Or how can I fortify to get good outcome in whatever I'm starting in 2026? I just want to tell you this. If you build anything you want to go into with this basic good foundation, the basic raw materials, which is faith, which is that strong, implicit confidence that even when it feels like everything is all falling apart, God is still able. Even when you feel like your strength has failed you, God is still able to show up because God's strength is always perfect. So keep on building and take a moment and have reviews as you're building, and don't think about now, think about tomorrow, think about the future, think about continuity, think about perseverance, because think about gold. How do we make gold? Gold doesn't just come out gold. Gold comes out dirty with a lot of stains, then gold passes through the furnace, the highest temperature ever. Then what happens? Couple of processes down the road, you see refined pure gold. In life, everybody wants the gold, the finished product. But only few people bother to know how the gold actually became gold. So the analogy is the fact that you're going somewhere to happen. So whatever you're encountering now, remember how you started and remember the reason why you're showing up. Rock solid faith in God. Always reference God. Remember the three components. Your faith, which can affect your leadership style. And if your leadership style is solid, it's going to build structures. And when you have strong structures, your legacy will be amazing. Positive legacy that will continue to even outlive you. So thank you for that opportunity to come in again.
I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.
Never give up. Never give up. This is how you get to the other side of your dreams, your vision, and the success that you seek. Keep God first and never give up. Stay electrified. Thank you for your time. Have a blessed day.
This has been 7,000 Volts, Living an Electrified Life, available on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. For more information, visit us on the web at ljtucker.com. Remember, stay electrified.